Welcome back to the channel, folks. Mr. H here for full spoilers, Avengers Endgame, questions and answers. Now, this comes to us actually direct from the horse's mouth. The co-director, Joe Russo, was recently interviewed by a Chinese publication, and he was asked, obviously, a bunch of questions which is burning in a lot of people's minds, and went full spoilers and just revealed everything that he and obviously his brother had taken into account whilst writing as well as directing the film. So, first question, why didn't Doctor Strange just cut off Thanos' hand or his arm? And he states that Thanos' skin is essentially impenetrable. We don't know whether Doctor Strange had the capability to do it, and if he failed to cut it off in time, Thanos would still be able to do the snap anyway. So Doctor Strange realised this particular issue during his millions and millions of test runs, hence why he just opted to allow the decimation or the snapping to happen. Will Black Widow be resurrected when the Soul Stone is eventually returned? And now this is obviously answered in the film itself. This is something which we get in the film, but they also just back up the statements by saying that the process is irreversible. Even if you have returned it to its original location, you wouldn't be able to get the person back. In fact, it's not really returning the stone, more like put it back properly. The tribute soul for the Soul Stone will forever be sealed in that place, therefore Black Widow is gone forever. Now, one of the questions which was asked, which I feel is fairly obvious, but they asked, how did they make Thor fat and Steve Rogers old? Now, they actually say that it's mostly CGI. And then in terms of Captain America, this will be a no-brainer. They say it's 95% CG and 5% makeup. But the voice was 100% Chris Evans, and there was no modification needed for that because he managed to pull off an old guy Captain America all by himself. Now, another question was obviously, why did they choose Iron Man to wield the Infinity Stones? I don't think this is a major question for a lot of people that have been following the series. It was a really good end to Iron Man and his character arc, but they did answer. And the answer, again, not a huge thing. If you've seen the film, you will know. But some insights here. They state that Thor in this movie couldn't do it. Only Hulk was strong enough to do the snap without dying. And we are still not sure whether Captain America can also withstand all of the power of the Infinity Stones at once. The reason they chose to let Iron Man do it in the end was because he was the closest one to Thanos at the time, and in all of the futures Doctor Strange foresaw, Iron Man was the only one who could get close to Thanos and do the snap. People usually think the death of a hero is a horrible tragedy, but we think this is different. When his death was able to bring back hope to save half of the universe, then his death was powerful and meaningful. We shouldn't feel too sad or angry about it. Now again, that's really no surprise if anyone has seen the film. Another question was, obviously, this movie throws out a lot of plot holes, potentially in terms of things we've seen, and time travel and such like that. And it was asked, what year was Steve Rogers dancing with Peggy Carter? And in fact, Joe did a bit of a cop-out answer, actually. He said, we can't answer it for now. This is a story that happened in an alternate reality. Maybe it will be revealed in the future. So, interesting. Bit of a cop-out, though. Really massive cop-out. And then he was asked, were there two Captain Americas in the same timeline? Obviously, because he goes back in time, stays there. Does that lead them to being two Captain Americas? And the answer, again, quite telling. Really quite an interesting one. It says, to me, Captain America's action in the end wasn't the fact that he wanted to change anything. It's more like he has made a choice. He chose to go back to the past and lived with the one he loved for the rest of his life. The time travel in this movie created an alternate reality. He lived a completely different life in that world. We don't know how exactly his life turned out, but I'd like to believe he still helped many others when they were needed in that world. Yes, there were two Captain Americas in that reality. It's just like what Hulk said. What happened in the past has already happened. If you go back to the past, you simply created a new reality. The characters in this movie created new timelines when they went back to the past, but it had no effect to the Prime Universe. What happened in the past 22 movies was still canon. Again, quite interesting to know that there was just two Captain Americas rocking around in one reality. Obviously, did Captain America meet the Red Skull on Vormir? Because he does go back to place the Soul Stone there. And the answer Joe Russo gave was Red Skull would probably put the Soul Stone back to its location and wait for the next unfortunate Stone Seeker to make sacrifice. Captain America and Red Skull probably wouldn't have fought. It's because it's his mission to return the stone to its original place. The Red Skull is also no longer the same Red Skull from the first Avenger. He's more like a ghost. You could almost say he's a completely different entity now. He only exists to guard the stone. His past consciousness may or may not exist anymore. Now, I think that's actually potentially one of the most interesting elements of all of these answers here. I mean, it's a completely different Red Skull, essentially. Consciousness is not the same. It's a different entity. He's just a ghost. My main question is, how on earth did that happen? Why? Does the Soul Stone permanently have a guardian? Does it need a guardian? No. So why is the Red Skull there? It doesn't really make any sense, but I do find the answer quite interesting. Joe Russo was then asked, how did Thanos bring his army into the future? And the answer was, there was a guy called Moore in his army. Obviously the wizard Moore. Thanos himself was a brilliant genius as well. Those two easily reverse engineered and mass produced the Pym particles. So in that very short time, they reverse engineered and mass produced Pym particles and brought everyone into the future. Quite surprising that. And then he was asked, could the Time Stone have been used to bring Iron Man back? And the answer is, it's because even if you save Iron Man, it will still not change the fact that Thanos will eventually win the war. Among the 14 million possibilities that Doctor Strange has seen, Iron Man's sacrifice is a must for that one win scenario. So basically no, but you could go back in time and pull another Iron Man back to the future because it creates a new timeline anyway, which again is a whole mess and a big head screw there, but hey, it's interesting nonetheless. And then he was asked, what does the 5-year time jump mean for the characters which were experiencing the decimation? And then Joe Russo answered, yes, those people whom was lucky to survive the snap are 5 years older than the people who just got back. The reason Spider-Man saw his friend again in high school at the end was simply because his friend was unfortunately also dusted like Spider-Man was. Of course, there are people in his grade whom didn't die, and they are probably already in colleges by now. To those dusted people, they had no consciousness in these past 5 years. They didn't know what happened. It's as if they had just woke up from a long sleep. The only one who was aware about how many years has passed was Doctor Strange, because he has already seen that when he was time meditating on Titan. Parker's reunion with Ned was a touching moment, and there are also people whom indeed moved on, but suddenly was reunited with their lost ones. Yeah, it's kind of a complicated world now. And then obviously the burning question is, did the mouse or the rat save the universe? And Joe Russo answered, rather jokingly, yes, the mouse saved the universe. Among the many realities in those 14 million possible futures Doctor Strange foresee, the mouse failed to press button, and thus the heroes failed in those futures. So, yes, the rat or the mouse saved the universe. Now, again, another question which is kind of answered in the movie, but he was asked this in this interview, was how exactly does time travel work in Avengers Endgame? To which Joe Russo replied, both Ancient One and Hulk were right. You can't change the future by simply going back to the past, but it's possible to create a different, alternate future. It's not the butterfly effect. Every decision you made in the past could potentially create a new timeline. For example, the old Cap at the end movie, he lived his married life in a different universe from the main one. He had to make another jump back to the main universe at the end to give the shield to Sam, which I'm really quite intrigued by that. He's basically been in another timeline, another universe, and then he's had to jump back to our one, which is not indicated in the movie at all. Really surprising. Now, again, on most people's lips was what was the teaser at the end of the credits, the clanging of metal. A lot of people said, oh, it's got to be, Wolverine or something dumb like that. But actually, it was Iron Man mashing his armor. Joe Russo stated it was our way to say goodbye to Iron Man. I think that's great. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Now, there you go. That just wraps it up. A whole bunch of burning questions I'm sure some people had, especially the end credits reveal. There you go. Answered. Done. Not Wolverine. Categorically is Iron Man clanging his armor, where it all began, basically. Anyway, guys, what did you think of this? Does this answer some of the questions? Are some of them a bit of a cop-out? Let me know your thoughts down below. Did you like Endgame, or did you not? And now, is this the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for you? Are you happy to say goodbye and not watch any more? I'd be interested to know. Let me know down below in the comment section. As always, if you are new here, please do hit subscribe. And to stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news, crush the bell notification icon. As always, thanks so much for watching. I've Mr. H. Take care.